Howdy folks, Justin here, and we are back with another reveal from our 11 card mini expansion that's coming out soon. The Legends community is about to be blessed with a 11 card mini expansion. And the latest card to be revealed is a pretty interesting one. Shadowmarking. It's a green action, costs 3. It says, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 into your opponent's hand, and draw the other 2. Okay, I think this card's pretty good, but let me start off by saying that I think it's fantastic for memes, okay? You may recall that there was a time when I was really into using barter to give my opponent different stuff, right? I used to give people Iron Atronox because I thought that was funny. That was the biggest thing I could give anybody. I tried using barter to give away Dagothera, but then it just kept dying because it's surprisingly difficult to kill Dagothera in a deck that barters away Dagothera. And I've used it to give away Lich's Ascension more recently, which has also been a lot of fun. But Shadowmarking gives you a lot more opportunity to do cool shit than just meme with, like, barter. First of all, unlike barter, it's not card disadvantage. You're not losing barter and another card to get 1 card from your opponent. Shadowmarking is card neutral, so it's a tempo loss. You're spending 3 magicka to end up with 2 cards, and your opponent ends up with 1 card. So it's a little bit like Mudcrab Merchant, but I think it's a lot better than Mudcrab Merchant because you have you put those cards in your deck for a reason. So they are likely going to be stuff that you think you might shadow mark away to your opponent, and you might want to use to facilitate your own game plan. I find it pretty interesting that as new sets have come out, consistent card draw, well, one-shot effects for card draw have consistently found themselves in agility, in green. If we look at other cards that draw us cards in green, we will see that they have been doing this for quite some time now. So, Shadow Shift, Embassy Disguise, Lockpick, Slime Marshblade, Thieves Guild Recruit, Corner Club Gambler, Daring Heist, Murkwater Guide, Varanus Courier, Sightless Skulk, Pamarot Renegade, Night Prowler, and Eclipse Baroness draw a lot of cards. I compare that to other colors. They don't have nearly the quality of card draw, although Ash Berserker makes a good argument for high quality card draw as well. But yeah, this is a really solid card. Now, where are you going to play it? Well, existing shells that are interested in this include things like Petamax's Abomination Scout, the Turbo Self-Mill Journey Scout, simply because the cards that are in that deck, you're not going to mind giving them away that much. And if you have a Thieves Guild Fence on the board, you are going to get fantastic discounts on 2 of those, and presumably a discount on the Shadow Marking when you drew it. So that could be a tremendous amount of value there. I think that this is a pretty interesting card for Abomination. This is not an aggressive card. This is not the kind of card you're going to slam into Aggro Halalu, for instance. But in a more mid-rangey deck that has early game tools that have little use in mid-range or control matchups, this card can be great. I mean, like, there comes a point, right, where your Harpy or your Wardcrafter isn't going to be particularly useful anymore, and especially in certain matchups. So if you Shadow Mark it away, you get to improve the quality of cards that you have in your hand. You're likely to have 3 magicka to take that time to do that. I just think Shadow Marking is a really fascinating card, and one that I'm really excited to play with. I have to admit, like, the memes for this are pretty obvious. Just giving your opponent garbage cards is funny. You can set yourself challenges like I did when I was giving away Iron Atronox. Be like, look, I'm not going to win the game until I slay the Iron Whale. I have to admit I had a lot of fun doing that. But because it's not divination, right? In Magic, there's a card called Divination that's 3 mana, and it's blue, and it says draw 2 cards. And it's like an accepted rate for the tempo loss that you would cost to draw 2 cards. Shadow Marking is not card advantage over your opponent. That's important to keep in mind. So what you need to do with this is play it in a deck that can afford the tempo loss. what's kind of interesting about this, I guess, is that like shadow marking, I think, is potentially a powerful enough effect that you might want to build entirely new decks to support it, right? I'm just like off the top of my head, right? Like I love to when I build new decks, I like to go to the multicolor cards first. Duke Venom Dren makes me want to play Control, Midrange, Slay, Rage, something like that, Halalu. And Duke Venom Dren is the kind of card that's going to have cards all over the casting cost range and would be able to play nicely with Shadow Marking because, like I said, in those sorts of decks, every matchup is going to have cards that shine and cards that are relatively useless. Shadow Marking lets you filter away those useless cards to your opponent. So Halalu is a class you might want to play something like that in. Sorry, I still have Draw selected here. I think that this is the sort of card that you probably would be interested in running in a Market Archer deck. I'm taking a look at Archer's Gambit. That one immediately comes to mind. But this is one that I've been talking about actually with another guy just this afternoon. That deck needs to reach a critical mass of components in order to win the game in like one turn, hopefully, but frequently over the course of a couple turns. Shadow Marking lets you dig for your very essential combo pieces. Like you need a couple Swindler's Markets and Northwind Outposts to make that deck go off. Shadow Marking helps get you there, and there's a lot of just like cycling cards in that deck that you might not mind giving away if you hit the stuff you need. So this is a deck where card quality is at a premium, and Shadow Marking facilitates that kind of thing. You might actually be able to even, and this is where the new deck building idea comes in, with Shadow Marking, you might even be able to adopt some of the strategy that Abomination has, where it's just almost exclusively cards that cycle through the deck to get to the combo, because you're going to have a critical mass of filtering pieces like Shadow Marking, like Camel, to get to that point. And in the past, that might have been a little bit harder to do in a deck that only has access to Camel and then Red and Green. Shadow Marking gives you the opportunity to push yourself a little further in the exclusively combo direction. I also, just as an aside, really like Shadow Marking in Creatureless Assassin. Creatureless Assassin is a deck that I played to Legend one season, actually, and there are going to be actions that you're running in that deck that are not going to be useful in every matchup, right? Like, I'm thinking about the sets of Firebolts aren't going to necessarily have a huge place in your game when you're playing against a Control Tribunal deck, for instance, right? Although they might. But in the event that they don't, Shadow Marking is a way to trigger your Mage's Guild retreats and get you to the more relevant cards in that matchup. It's funny, this card actually is pretty good in Conscription Telvanni. Telvanni, again, Conscription Telvanni is full of 2-drops, not going to be relevant in some matchups. You want to get to your conscriptions, get to your journey, get to your filtering and your late game cards, and Shadow Marking helps get you there, while also giving a card away to your opponent that you're likely going to be able to control and deal with. As far as Monk goes, what am I thinking about with Monk for this? Well, I struggle to come up with a good application for it in Monk, although there was a point in the game's history where Control Monk was a very playable deck. It was probably the control deck for a while there, right after Fall of the Dark Brotherhood came out. Depending on what other cards we get in the set, it's possible that Control Monk could be a deck that you might want to run Shadow Marking in. A lot of Control Monk decks historically have run Goblin Skulk and the Curse package to go alongside Shearpoint Dragons, although not during the deck's heyday, but since then that is something that a lot of those have incorporated. Shadow Marking is the perfect kind of card to get you to that point, because you can, of course, give away a curse and probably not suffer too much for it. The LOL deck that I've been playing, that took me to Legend this season, I think... Oops, I accidentally took out a Scout Support. I think it would do pretty well in here. This is a deck... I mean, look at this, the filtering and the draw we're running. Scout Support, Ungolem, for the Assassins, which are sort of filtering, sort of card draw. Slime Marshblade, Thieves Guild Recruit, Corner Club Gambler even, Indral Mastermind, Merchant's Camel. Ordinary Necromancer frequently bringing back these card draw creatures, and Eclipse Baroness. This is the kind of deck that has an incredibly powerful late game package, wants to get to it because the late game package is all right here. That's it. These are the cards that win you the game, and you just want to get there. Shadow Marking is the kind of card that can help get you there. And it's, again, the kind of card deck that is running all of the rest of this stuff to get to there. So in a lot of matchups, you're going to be able to give away one of these sorts of things and be really successful because you know that if you hit this, you win. Okay, I was hoping it would take me back to this menu. I never know how anything's going to work in the new client still. I'm still figuring that all out. You know, I talked a little bit about Assassin. Assassin, like, obviously Ultra Assassin is a thing, and Conscription Assassin was a thing at one point in the game's history. I don't know that Assassin has a lot of builds that support this card right now, although Creatureless Assassin is, of course, something I plan on trying in him. I do like the idea in Assassin of using Shadow Marking to try to facilitate something that's kind of new in Assassin with a Journey to Sovngarde Assassin. I think that it would lean towards control, but you'd be running a lot of early game removal and stuff like that. And there are certainly going to be times where you don't mind giving away, for instance, I was going to say Assassin's Ritual, but that card's unplayable. A Black Hand Messenger. But I'm other than Creatureless Assassin, I'm not huge on this card in any sort of Assassin deck. Yeah. And as far as Dagoth goes, Dagoth is usually a mid-range deck. There are aggressive Dagoth lists out there. I know Charmer plays a Conscription Dagoth deck that he says is a lot of fun. But I'm not keen on Shadow Marking in any existing Dagoth decks. However, I do like Shadow Marking in in a deck like the Illusory Dagoth deck, which is playing more like a combo deck. And in particular, Dagoth is home to a very playable Unite the Houses deck that needs to reach certain cards and doesn't mind giving away cards to the opponent because you're running a lot of particularly weird stuff. You could let's say that you whiff, for instance, on your Moment of Clarity. Okay, the three options you have aren't good. That's fine. You take the worst, most unplayable card. You take Lich's Ascension here. You're Shadow Marking it away to your opponent. It's a niche example of something you might do with it, but I do think it's reasonable to think about including it in. I mean, the 75 card deck relying on a 3-of win condition, I think, is the kind of 3-color deck that wants to take a look at that card. Yeah. I think that's about it. It's a pretty straightforward card, so I don't have like a whole lot of super like new ideas for it, but I think that it's powerful enough and rewards like intelligent decision making throughout the game that it will see some play, quite a bit of play actually. I'm really excited to try it myself. I'm excited to meme with it, of course. And the first time I run into you on the ladder and I'm running green, be prepared for me to give you a Lich's Ascension with this one. So anyway, that's it for today's card. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheJustinLarson, I will be revealing live a brand new Elder Scrolls Legends card from our new 11-card set. And I will also be releasing a video alongside it, pretty spicy video that I came up with. I recorded tonight. You may notice I just got out of the shower. That will go up as soon as the reveal is done on Twitch. So if you missed it on Twitch, you can catch it on YouTube. That's all I got. Spoiler season continues. I'm having a great time and I hope you are too. And I will see you guys on the ladder. Bye-bye.